Working in the US, is it better? Hi, I'm Sol.
And I'm SANNA.
And it's the board of the Bling Blingy Broads. You know what I realized we haven't done in a while?
What?
You didn't ask for opinion, but we're going to give it to you. You didn't ask for opinion.
But we're gonna give it to you anyways.
And we'll bring back our catchphrase.
Yes.
We'll be better at that.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the board is officially in session.
Is it in session, Sana?
It is.
Great.
Indeed.
Great. So, today we're going to talk about the U.S. work culture and versus the rest of the world. If
We've worked in the rest of the world.
No, I didn't. I didn't, but I came from I have credentials. I'm an immigrant, right? Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. So, if you haven't watched episode 5, we discussed our cultural difference experiences with the U.S. and immigration and that kind of stuff. So go watch that. And that in and of itself is such a huge topic. But today, we're just going to dive a little bit deeper into work culture. Mm-hmm. So everyone's dying here to get into the U.S., or that's what the U.S. tries to make it seem like.
The American dream, right?
The American dream. So let's kind of discuss what that is. So stereotypically, what would you say is the U.S. work culture?
It's very, it's 9 to 5, but then it's also 9 to as long as you have to be there for,
Right.
That's the stereotype, I think.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of remorse, not a lot of mercy. One wrong and you're out.
Well,
that's a stereotype.
Is that the stereotype? Because, well, I come from Korea, and that's a very intense work culture. It's very hierarchical.
Yeah.
And it's very intense, and work is everything. Mm-hmm. And you have to do everything to survive. So to me, the U.S. work culture seems a lot more laxed. But then you're European, and I feel like any article you read about U.S. work culture, they always compare it to Europe and how Europe does it better.
Yeah, well, it's just more relaxed. Well, and I think that's also because of things that we talked about in episode 5. But how, where I'm from, yes, you need to work hard and everything, but there's kind of a cap on how far you can get. In a way,
yes.
Whereas in the U.S., there's no cap, so you can kind of be not pushed around, but there's always an incentive to get something more. There's always a prize. There's always, if I work really hard, I can get this really nice bonus, or I can get this promotion, or if I work really hard and I earn this money, then I can go off and make my own business and stuff. And you can do all those same things in Norway, but your life will not elevate that much. You'll still be comfortable being a middle class worker.
Yeah. So it's hard to become a millionaire, self-starter in Europe. Is that what you're trying to say?
I can't speak for all Europe. It's a little different, but generally speaking, I think it's harder to have that absurd amount of money.
Yes. I think the general things that I see are the difference between the U.S. and the rest of the world. I mean, we can't do the whole rest of the world, obviously.
Yeah, we speak for everyone.
But from what we know, the U.S. is, for me, it's in the very middle ground. It's very much so work-oriented. I will agree with that. You have to work to survive, and you have to, and, being successful in your career is very pushed.
Yeah.
And then I feel in Europe, it's much more that work-life balance is more important. So that...
Which is...
Yeah, is very important.
It is very important because I feel you get in the US, and because that's how it's done, it's how we think, or people think here, but the work-life balance, it doesn't exist as much. It's well, I have to sacrifice these years of my life and work
until retirement. That's life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think that is how life should be lived.
I don't think so either, but I come from a culture where everything's so much more intense.
Yeah, that it's like you're like, yeah, sure, we can do this. But in the US,
sure.
you're like, that's easy.
Yeah, I'll be at work till like 10 p.m. That's expected of me. So I mean, there's great things about the U.S., but generally, I think people in the U.S. have qualms about the work environment here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like where they're expected to do so. What do you mean?
Well, a lot of people feel like they work too many hours and, they're not afforded that work-life balance. So they talk about that a lot. But I feel like they also talk about how, my brain just snipped for a second. What do they talk about, Sanna?
What do they talk?
They talk about
the expectation.
The expectation, the groveling. But also, don't you feel like, because I watched a lot of documentaries, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but I also feel like in the U.S. they have a lot of laws protecting their workers a bit better than some other countries, in my opinion, like workers laws. How do you feel like?
Not compared to Norway, I don't think so.
Okay, fair. Compared to Norway, no. But I think when it comes to
like
maybe different countries like that don't have as strict government restrictions on especially blue collar workers environments. Because I was watching a documentary about Italy and their leather plants, and they have a lot of illegal immigrants there, but there's nothing like workers' comp or anything like that. So you get hurt, but you're scared to go to the hospital because you might get deported. Whereas in America, workers' comp is covered to illegal immigrants as well. So
that's at least good. But like the fact that you can get fired at any moment without cause in Utah is wild to me.
Yeah, but generally people don't do that.
I know, but the thing is that you can.
You can.
I don't care what people do or don't do. I care that there's a law in place where you can just get fired.
Well,
I understand
unless there's a contract.
Yes.
Unless there's a contract.
But like in Norway, for example, I don't know all the ins and outs of the law, but generally speaking, if you make mistakes, you have to have a couple of written notices before they can legally fire you. Right.
But then here's the thing: if there's company, I know at will employment sounds really bad, and I'm sure there's lots of people who take advantage of that. But what I've seen is there's company policy as well. So like when you sign with a company and you sign the company policy and they don't, and most of the time company policy says you'll get written notices for this, and then on the third one termination is possible. So that is the kind of contract you are signing. So I don't think it's okay. Lots of corporate jobs, I think it's a bit better. And I think what prevents people from just firing people is because for a company to fire someone, it is a lot of money to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
rehiring unless they're just terminating the position.
Yeah, it costs companies to fire someone. So I think a lot of companies, that kind of prevents people from just firing people willy-nilly. And also wrongful termination is still illegal. So if there's a unjust reason why someone fired you, then you can always prosecute.
Yeah, but
I'm biased. I've never been terminated in Utah for just because, that's never happened to me. So I don't know what kind of employers really take advantage of that law, because most companies I've worked for, they have fair practices and fair policies when it comes to termination.
Which I guess is what they need to have to keep people anyways. And
keeping
people is what you need if you want to run a good business.
Yeah, it's a trade. You want good people in your company. But then sometimes I look at people and I think they should be fired, but they never get fired. Like, those people who just never work?
Yeah.
And get away with everything, and you look at them and you're like,
yeah, like you shouldn't.
You should. Why are they not firing you?
Well, a lot of people this is based on things I've heard, not seen myself, but in very big companies, people get away with not really working.
Yeah, because it's so big.
Because they don't get caught.
Is that it? I mean, when it comes to corporations in Norway, would you say that that's kind of the case in Norway? Are there a lot of people who slack off, or is people just generally hard workers?
Like, I would say that people are generally hard workers.
I mean, I think a lot of...
But...
Yeah, my country too.
I don't think people are lazy in Norway.
I mean, there's always exceptions.
There will always be lazy people. There will always be super hard workers, but I don't look at my country as people that don't put in the effort.
Right.
I'm just saying that there's no need to go above and beyond sometimes.
Right. So you put in the appropriate amount of effort.
Well, and they're not expected to either. Like in Norway, you have to take time off. Like your summer vacation has to be your vacation have to be taken off.
Yeah.
And you're not expected to work past your work hours. Like obviously there are people that do. Like you have to run a business. Some things happen, but it's not. I feel like here, if you work past your work hours, you'll be recognized more than if you just do what you need to do within your hours.
Yeah, that is true. Like, you have to go above and beyond to be noticed. So, to kind of break it down, what we've noticed is America is... Europe has a great work-life balance. America...
Certain countries
in Europe.
I don't want to... Yeah.
Norway has a great work-life balance.
Well, because there's countries that I have heard are not super...
Yeah.
Like, they're not super hard workers, for example. Yeah. They're very laxed. And
I guess we should clarify. We can really only speak for what we know, but we're gonna base a lot of our opinions on assumptions.
Yes.
I had reading that I was gonna do, but did I do it? No. So
you're over here talking about hard workers. Oh,
this is what you're gonna get. I never said I was a perfect Asian. I'm a terrible Asian. Anyways, so Norway has a great work-life balance. America maybe needs a little bit more work, and Korea needs a lot of work. Yeah. So let's kind of circle back after this ad break, and let's kind of talk about our personal experiences and things that we've noticed within the U.S. work system that was kind of very interesting, and how our upbringings kind of affects our interactions within the U.S. work system. So, Hey, yo. Are you a menace and love annoying your coworkers? Then try sighing every other minute. It'll drive them crazy. You're welcome. All right, so we work, right?
Hard.
Okay, actually, I don't work right now. I got laid off.
Yeah, well,
my company shut down my department.
That's rough.
But you know what? It wasn't like unreason. It wasn't like we're just gonna terminate all of you. They shut down my department because it didn't fit the business model, and then now I'm looking for a new job. So so that wasn't kind of anyways. But we've worked in the U.S.
Yeah,
and we've definitely had conversations about the different weird things we've noticed in the U.S. that we find peculiar. So in the previous episode, you mentioned something about
like the hierarchy.
But you also mentioned something about getting to know your coworkers.
Oh, or like clients more, but
right, the small talk piece. We've talked about the small talk piece.
Like, maybe it's I claim that this is a Norway thing. Like obviously people make relationships and business work the way business does.
Right.
But generally speaking, here in the US, I think that there's a lot more you have to really establish a friendship almost with a client before you can move forward with business.
Client and your coworkers. Yeah, if you wanna, it's about who you know. Yeah. Well, obviously work too.
Yeah.
But it's a lot about who you know.
Yeah, and like you want to be close with them. You want to know who they are. You want to know their families. You can ask how they're doing. Right. You want to know about their hobbies, their vacations. Like you want to be able to make those type of conversations. Whereas, from my experience, in Norway, you don't have to know those things in order to do business. Naturally, at least for me, and maybe that is because I like haven't gotten comfortable enough in that world, but I just don't. It doesn't fall natural for me to establish the friendship before I do business. If we both know that we're gonna do business,
right. If you're gonna do business together,
like,
then
let's
do
crap.
business
I know
together.
why we're here.
I don't need to know about your personal life. I think that's
it's overwhelming.
Yes,
I don't need to know all those details about
you. I don't like. Like, I care about you as a person, but I can't. That was something was a hard lesson to learn, was that people found me very grating or very, like, bitchy because I wouldn't talk to them about their personal lives. Because I was all work and all business.
Yeah.
But that's how I was raised. Like, this chit chat is wasting time.
Yeah. Is that is that like Asian culture also?
I think so.
Or Korean?
I've never worked in Korea, but from what I hear, that is the case.
Well, and like,
I think it's very, work focused. Like,
Yeah.
they talk about your family, but it's not really, downtime is not encouraged.
Yeah.
But I've noticed in the US, like, downtime is encouraged.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's the layers, okay? So I'm gonna
Yeah.
quote, or there's a story that it reminded me of from this
Uh-huh.
book I read called Culture Map. It's really interesting if you're interested in different cultures working and how they operate. But it was an example. I don't remember what the second culture was, but the first person was from America. The second person, I don't remember where they were from. I think they were from Europe. But they were sitting together on a plane, okay? And they never met before, but they were sitting together on the plane. And they started talking, and this person from the US naturally just told them about their life, about all their problems, about every single little thing that they ever... And the other person was like, wow, this person's really opening up to me. Like, I think, like, we're establishing a friendship here, because that's what all those conversation topics meant to them.
Yeah.
That, like, we're gonna be friends. Like, we're tight now, right? So then they talk, blah, blah, and then towards the end of the flight, like, he was kind of expecting that they were to exchange information. And the person was like, awesome, super nice talking to you this flight. See ya, bye. Never spoke with them again.
Right.
And the other person just did not understand how you could have this deep of a conversation with someone and then not be, like,
right. That's
be a part
fascinating.
Of their life. So, like, I thought that story was really cool. I'm not saying every single American is like this, but, like, generally speaking.
But it's a good generalization of how different cultures kind of interact and how Americans are. Like, you can have a emotionally detached emotional conversation with other people.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean a thing to you. Well,
so,
it might
like, their layers, they don't have that many
Yeah.
layers. It's easier to just, like, open up, which in a lot of settings is really good.
Right.
Like, Norwegians are super closed off, and, like, it can take time and a lot of effort for you to make really good friends with someone, because you just don't allow people in like that. So it has its pros and cons, but
I agree. It has its pros and cons. But the getting to know your coworkers thing, it did have to break me out of my shell a little bit, and I'm still not good at it. I'm terrible at it, and I need to work on it, but it's very difficult to try to get to know someone and the details about their life just on a whim.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to establish some kind of intimacy with you.
Yeah, like some kind of connection.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, I don't have the hardest time with coworkers, like the ones that I, like, sit next to and conversate with daily. That's fine, because then over time, you know, you build, like, little connections and things, like you were kind of saying. But if I have coworkers that live across the, have an office across the building, and I don't see you every day, like, it probably won't be that natural for me to want to establish a friendship with you.
Yeah. I mean, but you're really good at speaking to people and establishing connections with people.
People say that, but I have no idea why they say that.
I think you're just naturally a really good conversationalist, and I think you're naturally welcoming, and so people just like speaking with you. I think that's why. I think you're just a naturally inviting person, and that's your vibe.
Maybe that's why everyone tell me their tea. I always have tea.
I love that I get tea from you. It's just so fun. So, it's not just kind of getting to know the coworkers thing. I talked about how downtime is encouraged, kind of. It's not encouraged in the sense like they want you to slack off or anything. But I have noticed that if you're spending time to get to know your coworkers and have like personal conversations, it's not frowned upon.
Yes. I've noticed the same thing.
And I feel like I like what they do there because I feel like it's building kind of a tighter knit culture
Yeah.
in a sense. So yeah, I think that was something interesting. And that I used to kind of think, why are you guys not working? But now I think, oh, there's value in this.
Yeah. Well, and it might make collaboration easier because, again, everyone is different, and some people have different levels of, okay, I'm comfortable being honest with you all.
Right.
And so when it comes to like collaborating in teams, if everyone is comfortable with everyone, maybe there's a higher chance that you will actually say your opinion without filtering it.
Yes.
And which is necessary if you want a good product or you want the project that you're working on to succeed. Because if everyone is just being like, yeah, sure,
we'll
be indifferent,
right.
If you like it, like
it's less collaborative.
Yeah, exactly. You need people to say, I think that's a bad idea in my opinion. I think we should go with that. Or just be honest. And maybe that's what those relationships.
Yes, it's that relationship building. People say America is very successful economically, and you can argue a lot of different reasons why that's the case, but I think this the having personal conversations with your peers kind of bleeds into that, in my opinion. I had a point, but I forgot. You go.
You're fine. But I'm fine with the building connections with the people within your same company. But yeah, I've just noticed that for me it just takes time. Like there's clients that I've had now and I've worked with for like a year now I feel fairly comfortable with it, but like the first few meetings I have with clients, it's harder for me to get through because it doesn't fall natural for me to do small talk. I know you said I was good at it, but I don't personally feel super good or genuine in my small talk.
Oh yes, the genuine piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I'm more genuinely interested after I've seen your face a few times.
Right. But I can't just ask about your wife and your kids if I've barely interacted with you.
Well, and okay, so the things we both know that we can ask those questions, like we can train ourselves, but you just feel fake doing it. Yes. It's
like, SANNA,
tell me, how are the kids? How are the kids?
How's life going? How was that? Yeah. I just speaking of communication, I didn't realize how much my Asian upbringing influenced my work style until a couple years back. So, like, I was leading a team and they were pointing it out to me after kind of throughout the project. And they were saying, I just communicate very directly. Yeah. And I'm very business. And I don't feel like I need to sugarcoat things. Because I'm not saying it in a rude way. I'm just telling
saying how it is.
How it is and how this is what I need done. Yeah. Yeah. But then people took offense to that. Because I wasn't being like, hey, Tommy, can you do this for me? I really need it by Tuesday. No. Because of this and this and this. But there is value in kind of changing your communication style per the person. But I did realize that was an issue. It was a shock to some people.
But like, okay, so I've heard that same thing before. I also don't understand why that's a shock to people.
Yeah, and we're at work.
And the thing is, it's not nothing is personal. If something wasn't good, it's not personal. Yeah. If something wasn't delivered, well, and you messed it up, then I guess it's personal. Right. But then don't take it as like an attack on your character. Take it as, hey, maybe I did not do the best job. Or like if you ask, hey, I need this by next Tuesday, and you say that, it's just something that has to be done, and you just happen to be the person to do it. So I asked you. Right. And I don't know why I need to sugarcoat it.
Right. But then I think a part of it was also a slight layer of sexism. I was working with completely men, and some of my other coworkers would do the same thing, and they wouldn't get smack for it. So it might have been. But I believe part of it was my cultural upbringing. But then I do believe part of it might have had a layer of, she's a woman, she should be nicer, type of a thing.
Well, and then they have to look away from like woman, men.
You know what?
And look at person.
You know what? Eventually, at the end of the project, they did change, but in the beginning, they had a really hard time adjusting to me.
I don't get it.
Yeah. But that's a conversation for another time. Yeah. I had a great time on that team. It was great. Yeah. But very interesting things. Like, there definitely are upbringing and differences in the U.S. that were not apparent, but also was interesting to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, in this next break, we'll come back and talk about what the U.S. does well.
Yeah.
And what things that they can implement.
Yes, because they do a lot of things well.
Yes, they do. So. Did you eat a lot of cheese and need to fart at work? Try clenching your butthole and letting a small one loose. Silent, but deadly. But at least your coworkers won't know who did it. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. Okie dokie.
Okay.
Okay, so obviously this is a short episode, but so we haven't talked about everything. So, okay, who cares? Anyways, what does the US do well?
Well, so like we have kind of touched base on, I really love all the opportunities in the US.
Me too.
And I've mainly worked in smaller companies, and so maybe this is the same all over the world, but my experience here is that you have a lot. If you're in a small company, you have even more opportunities. Like, your contribution really, really matters, and you matter. And if you can be as much as you want to be, in a way. Like, if you want to put more effort in, you will be recognized for it. There are opportunities for you to grow, to be paid more. Like, money's always an option, you know? And I think that's really cool with the US.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the things that I like about the US is, okay, there are toxic employers everywhere. Yes. However, the employers that I worked for, a lot of them, you get so many chances, is what I've noticed. A lot of people get so many chances.
Really?
Yeah. I wish they would get a little less chances, but I think it's great that they get so many chances because they have a chance to prove themselves as a good employee. Yeah. And it is okay if you're just a mediocre employee. And I like that too. You're not expected to perform at the highest level all the time.
Yeah.
It is okay if sometimes you're a little bit not as performing as you usually do.
Yeah. Like, you're not expected to be on your A game 24/7.
All the time. No.
Have you heard the term, like, personality hire, and how they make fun of those on, like, Reels and stuff?
No. What is this?
Well, and I haven't experienced it myself, but I think it's a funny joke. But it's just the person that's just really fun, talkative, and like, hey, who wants to go out for lunch? Or who wants to go do this and that? Or just talks to everyone. It's just, the person is just good energy. That's what they call it.
But you know what? I feel like that there's value in that. One other thing I really like about the U.S. work culture, it's very diverse. So I feel like a lot of diversity brings a lot of new ideas and different things. Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I like how also the U.S. incorporates different things from different countries. Like, a lot of the process improvement things come from Japan.
Yes.
Yeah, and, it's brought into the U.S. and the U.S. has implemented that a lot. Yeah. So there's lots of different things. If it is to work better, the U.S. is very open to different ideas on how to work better and more effectively.
Exactly. And I think also we're looking at it from, at least I am right now looking at it from I'm a young adult. Right. I don't have a lot of other outside responsibilities. Like, when I get home from work, the only other person I take care of is myself. But I think that the conversation would be slightly different if we were both sitting here with families and kids.
Right. Then that work-life balance
really
would be very important. However, I think in Utah is very family oriented.
Yes.
So Utah, I think, is a little bit different from different states. Like, they want you to go home to your families and spend time with your families. But I don't think that's the case in New York or something.
They don't want you to go home to your kids.
So they just want you to work. But yeah, you're right. Our perspective is skewed. One other thing, you talked about the opportunities, but I like how, like, if you want to switch careers, like your career path midway through, you can. Yeah. And your HR will be supportive. Well, okay, obviously there's toxic workplaces, but most HRs will be supportive of your career journey if you say, I want to switch IT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
The flexibility?
Yes, the flexibility, just the ability to change when you need to. So lots of great things about America. What are things that they should do better at?
Okay. Company don't see this. The unlimited PTO, I think, is like an attempt to make you think that you have more vacation days, but then it has the other.
Yeah.
Effect.
I don't think unlimited PTO seems like an unlimited PTO.
No, unlimited PTO is not unlimited PTO. But my biggest thing with the US and work culture is you're worried about taking vacation time. You're worried about taking it off, or you don't have a lot of time to take off either. You have like 2 weeks during a year.
Yeah.
And
so maybe just a little bit more vacation days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, well, because imagine if you just gave your employees a little more flexibility with the vacation days. I think people would be
more healthier and not so burnt out.
Yes.
Yeah, because burnout is a real problem here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Well, everywhere. In Asia, too. Asia is a real big problem. But in the U.S., burnout is very...
Well, and if you only have 2 weeks, you won't... Usually, I don't see a lot of people taking 2 weeks off consecutively. I see them spreading them out. So, like,
maybe
a Friday here, a Thursday here. And I just think that it would be healthy for people to have at least... Like, in Norway, people usually take 2 weeks off consecutively, at least.
Maybe they should do, like... a week per quarter, like a week off per quarter.
It's very good for you to just completely tune out, because like a long weekend is nice, but you really don't have the time to completely tune out.
Right.
And I know there's a time and place for a vacation. Like, you're building your career, you're building your life. Maybe you have to put extra hours in. I get it, but I would like to see the U.S. give more vacation days.
Yes, yeah, I think that's the general consensus. I was talking to a friend the other day, and he was saying that he thinks the U.S. would be so much more productive if we had like 6-hour work days.
Yeah, or like a 4-hour work week. I've seen that too.
Yeah, because if you realistically think, when you go in the morning, okay, probably takes you about 30 minutes to get settled in, and then 30 minutes to really get into the groove, and then at the end of the day you're not really doing much. Well, you're an exception, but most people are not really doing much at the last hour.
Yeah. Or I've also heard this thing that I don't know what the theory is called or who came up with this, but it's not like groundbreaking. But I've heard people talk that if you are given 10 tasks and you're given 10 hours, you'll do those 10 tasks in 10 hours. But if you're given those same 10 tasks in 7 hours, you'll do them in 7 hours. So you'll if you know what you're doing, if you have
a limited time, you're gonna get it done in that limited time.
Yes. So like, we'll procrastinate or we'll be effective depending on how much time we're given. So I think that if they did cut down the hours to 6 hours,
right,
for example, or gave some more flexibility around it, I do think that people could stay almost as productive. And they're running a lot of studies on this, and
maybe they should do like paid lunch hours. So then people are like, they shouldn't have lunch as not paid.
Yeah, well, and honestly, personally, I do not care about lunch.
I don't really take lunch.
I'd rather go home early than have lunch.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah,
but,
same here.
But that's personal opinion.
But then if it's like paid, then you won't be missing out on pay because you went home early, an hour early. You know?
Well, and I think that you need to go. I think going home is what people want to.
Yeah, people want to go home.
They want to go home.
There are go-getters out there who just love work and love to stay at work. There are people like that. But then I think most people, what's important to them is work is not their lives. Outside of work is their lives, and that's what they value. And they work to sustain that. So you need to have people be able to have both.
Exactly. So I think that there could be some more flexibility around it, or like do like a half Friday so that everyone gets off work at 12 on Friday. Like,
but then it's paid for the whole day. Yeah.
And like, of course there are going to be Fridays where you have more than work than you can do till 12, right? But I just think you'd have happy employees.
Yeah, I think so too. I definitely think so too. And the better you treat your employees, the happier they would be, and more likely they'll work harder. But who really knows what would happen? I mean, but
personally, I have a hard time taking time off. Just to take time off. Like, if I want to take time off, I'm going to the beach, right? And how often does that happen? Very, very rarely. So when am I gonna take time off?
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to take a Friday off just to take a Friday off.
Right. Because what are you gonna do during that Friday?
Yeah. So and I do enjoy working. So like I'm one of those that I don't mind staying at work longer than 5. I don't care. Right now at the time of my life, that's something I enjoy. But I also see that in the future, like that's not gonna be something that I would want to do forever. Yeah. And there are people that also they want to work 9 to 5 because that's what they're paid to do, and I get it.
Yes. I had a comment about something that I don't remember. I think I was going to say pay time off is great. I like the idea of pay time off.
It's never unlimited.
It's never unlimited. What was I going to say?
Because unlimited.
Gosh. I forgot what I was going to say. I think at the core of it, we're trying to say there needs to be... Oh, no, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say... I think, I'm not a tax professional, but I think a lot of the reason why they can't just pay you and send you home for the half day is because of tax laws. I think, like, there are things like they have to be present at the location working in order for this. So I think it has to do with tax laws.
Just increase your hourly wage.
Yeah.
Like, there's...
Yeah. But you know what?
Just slightly increase it.
Yes.
But the thing about the PTO is that if you don't take the, like, say you're given 2 weeks of, or 20, I don't know how many vacation days you're usually given a year, but say you're given 2 weeks, and if you don't take those weeks, then the companies will pay you out, right? Next year for those days you didn't take. Yeah. With unlimited PTO, they have no obligation to pay you anything for the days that you didn't take.
Yeah, that's not... Ooh, yeah, that is like that is a loophole. That is a loophole. They don't have to spend extra money.
Because there are people that save... doing that. They don't take the time off.
So they can get extra money, or they like accumulate PTO so that way they can take like a month off or 6 weeks off. Yes. Yeah.
But now they can't.
Yeah.
So it's a trick.
It is. You're right. So better PTO and better work-life balance.
If you have unlimited PTO and you think that is something for you, it is not for you. It's for them. Okay.
Okay. Well. Yeah. Overall, it's great. So let's take a break, summarize, and then we'll close our session. Yeah. Coffee in the morning, still kinda tired, and Dave walks up to you and asks how was your weekend. Small talk. Sometimes it really annoys you, especially when you're tired. Oh, okay, we are back. So, is working in the US cool?
I love that that's what we, like, we're bored, but we decide and measure by coolness.
Yes, that's exactly what it's the board of the Bling Bling Broads, man.
It's a bling bling
Is
decision.
working in the U.S. cool? I would say it's pretty cool. We like working in the U.S.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah. Just some things need to be improved. We do like that the different opportunities that the U.S. has. We're a big fan of that.
Yeah, we like that.
But...
we think that PTO is a scam. Unlimited, at least.
Unlimited PTO is a scam. Well,
sorry.
At the core of it, the U.S. needs better work-life balance, like everyone has been saying. Now, is it going to change? I don't know if it's going to change because I think government has to agree, because the reason why we have 8-hour, 40-hour work weeks is I think a lot of it has to do with tax laws. And because the infrastructure, how this work week thing is a thing is because the laws are written without work week in mind. Now, if we change the work week in mind, the laws are going to change. Well, because like because I think it's if you work over like 32 hours in a work, then you're technically considered a full-time employee or something. They have to tax you differently. I'm not a tax professional, but I think that's the main reason why America's work system looks like it is. But I'm not a professional. Who knows?
Yeah, well, either way, I think there should be some more flexibility around that.
Yes, more flexibility. Better maternity leave for sure.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
And paternity leave. I mean, do we have time to talk? We don't have time to talk about every single little thing.
No.
But in the future, we shall dive in further. But I think good conversation.
Yes.
Yes.
I like it.
Any other last comments, Sanna?
No, like I could talk a lot about this, but generally speaking, I like working in the US. I like it. I think
Me too.
I think the opportunity, like, you can make it as much as you want. Like, if you want to make it, you can. The effort you put in is the rewards you reap. I don't know.
I feel very grateful to be here in the US and work here. So I guess we are chasing the American dream.
Wow, that is so cliche.
The American dream. All right. Well, session ends.
Yes.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining.
Hey, bye.